because our number one goal here at Elegant Home Exteriors is to make the customer happy.
This is Elegant Homes with Don Riley. Each week, get expert advice from Don Riley that's straightforward, making sure you're not taken advantage of. Powered by CFI and by Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky.
Welcome back to another episode of Elegant Homes. I'm your host, Don Riley, where we make every home elegant, one home at a time. You know, today is one of those days where the weather is chilly and it's just cold, cold, cold. And, it's funny. I left the house this morning and I got 4 girls, as all of you know, and they are quite challenging in the morning. They are ladies, so you know how that goes. So my youngest is 7 and they're going to school 2 days a week due to COVID. You know, they were home the other days. And as you know, as a parent, it's always a challenge to get them all up, feed them, and get them out the door. So with them being home, it's been a little bit easier, but still a challenge because they are cranky women. So they don't want to sit at home all the time. They want to be with their friends. But as I went outside this morning, I noticed my daughter, she's outside with me and waiting for the school bus. And, I started to think about my career in the home improvement business for over 22 years, working in this cold weather. And as you get older, I'll be 47 this year, and as you get older, it's really tough on your body. So as an owner of a company, sometimes I have to step back and put myself in the worker's position and think, sometimes these guys are cranky and you're on job sites with them. And it's just, sometimes you got to know how to delegate to some of these employees and let them know that you got their back. And no matter what the temperature is or what's going on in that particular job. And that's very important. And that's why today I want to talk about job sites. As I set up my writing today for the show and what I was going to talk about, I want to talk a little bit about job sites. And there's a lot of, myths out there about how do you set up a job site? How do you run a job site? And there's really an art to setting up a job site. There's a lot of pre-prep before you go and start the job, and there's a lot of breakdown after you complete the job. And, in 22 years in this business, I've opened a lot of jobs and closed a lot of jobs, and you really learn the ins and outs of the business. And I always say my biggest thing in the home improvement business, it's not the 99% you do right. It's that 1% you do wrong that people see. And, it's just that 1% that can make a difference from that customer referring you to the next customer. And that's why we're so good at what we do here at Elegant Home Exterior. And hopefully that comes through in this podcast. It's easy to get on here and talk about all these things, but it's a different story when you're actually living it and you're inside these people's homes and you're working for a customer. So working on the job site, first thing we have to do when we show up is we have to be courteous and remind ourselves we're in another human being's home. So we have to almost transform who we are and mold ourselves into that homeowner's home, because maybe you're not the type of person that knocks the dust off your shoes when you come in the door when you go to your house. Well, maybe that customer that you're working for is a particular customer that they'd like you to dust your shoes off before you wipe them on the rug. So those are things you got to be mindful of. If a customer's watching you, some people want us to wear booties when we're in their house. Some people want us to put cloth down on different floors if they got hardwood floor or linoleum floor. So these are all things that I have to remind workers all the time to be mindful. Giving an example the other day, we're on a job site. We needed a garbage can. Our garbage cans are all full. They're all full. We're putting pergola flooring down. And so one of my guys says, "Hey, can we use this garbage can?" He said, "I'll just take the garbage out of that one." I said, "No, we can't take the garbage out of that one and use that garbage can." So these are things, sometimes when you're busy working, you just don't think on the right path. That's what pre-planning is all about in the home improvement business. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today, is pre-planning your job site. So make sure you prep your job before you start your job, because that's the most important. Always tape your windows and doors off before you paint. That's a big, big thing in the business. A lot of people don't do that, because the last thing you want to do is start painting your trim or your door jambs and get paint all over them. So we always tape everything off. When we're prepping floors, we make sure that we cover the bottom of the window up with cardboard anywhere in that facility. So if I'm breaking tile or breaking any type of flooring up and I'm scraping and pulling and tugging and trying to get this floor up, if a piece of that flies up and hits the window, there's a chance it could break. So we always make sure that we cover every kind of glass opening that is in that room which really, really helps protect those windows or those surfaces. So if you have a new tub, we always cover the front of the tub up, because if we're just replacing floor and you got a brand new tub, a piece of that tile could chip up and hit that tub, and now guess what? I'm buying you a brand new tub. And tubs are not cheap, folks. So always pre-prep your areas, your doorways. If you're going from one doorway to the other, to another room, we use what we call zip walls. So we zip the wall off with a pole, and it has a cloth that comes down to the floor 80 inches from the door to the bottom. Most doorways are 36 by 80 or 32 by 80. And then we got a little zipper, and it just zips down. So that protects that room from the next room of getting dust and all that grime going into the next room. And then we basically dust off before we enter the next room. And what I mean by dust off, if we're in the room and it's dusty and you get grime and grit all over your shirts, or, we want to dust off. We want to make sure that we walk into that next room, we're not getting stuff in that next room, because those are the things that will upset the customer. That's that 1% that customer's watching for. And we want to come out there with a 100% scorecard, right? We want to make sure that customer's 100% satisfied. So we're going to make sure that all these things that we do lead up to get that 100% scorecard at the end of that job. Because our number one goal here at Elegant Home Exteriors is to make the customer happy. Because if we make the customer happy, guess what? We get referrals. And that referral takes our business to the next level. Our goal is to get 5 to 6 referrals out of every one customer. So I always preach to the guys, if you're in a home and you get that 100% scorecard from that customer, because we always ask the customer on a scale of 1 to 100, where were we? Where did we score? You scored 100. Good job. And that's how we grade these guys on how they're performing in the home. And does every day do we get 100, or every month do we get 100 on these jobs? Absolutely not. I mean, there's sometimes we make mistakes. Give you another example. We were doing a bathroom about a month ago, and a water line busted, and water sit on marble. If you know anything about marble, if water sits, it gets a kind of a stain on it. So now it will dry out eventually. So the homeowner was freaking out and very upset and said, you just played off this nice marble flooring in my bathroom, and now I got a stain. And she was not happy. And I had to convince her that this stain will eventually dry out and it will go away. And that's what usually happens with different flooring out there. If it's water sits, especially marble, it's going to stain it. But we put a fan on it and eventually dried out. Of course, it's not there anymore. So she's super happy. But these are the little things you got to watch out for in the business. So be mindful of that if you're in a customer's home. Now, if you're doing your own project at your own home, you still want to be courteous to yourself. You don't want to bust a window. You don't want to get paint all over your door jambs. You want to make sure that if you're bringing something into the room, you're not going to put a hole in the wall. You're not going to turn a ladder sideways and put a hole into the drywall. So these are things you got to be mindful of. And I'm one of these guys. It's funny. Even if I have a number 2 pencil behind my ear and I pull that pencil out, I'm always watching where I'm turning, because you know how many times I've hit a customer's wall and put a big pencil mark on their wall, and people don't like that. So, and erasers don't work very good, so you got to wash the wall down. So, my producer's laughing at me. He's probably seen me do that once or twice. And my point to this whole madness of the job site maintenance and cleanup and all this is being mindful to the customer. That is our number one goal, because if the customer's happy, they're going to tell 100 people. If they're unhappy, they're going to tell 200 people. So always remember referrals, referrals, referrals. The other thing I'll tell you too is customers, they're mindful. If you are mindful of their home and you're being courteous in their home, I mean, you wouldn't believe the things that customers have done for me and my guys over the years. I mean, they've fixed us food. They have done all kinds of wonderful things just because we're courteous in their home. And it's just a way to be in the business, and it makes your business so much better. And that is how we've built such a good reputation over our 22 years in this industry. And I've seen so many job sites. I've walked onto other job sites where other contractors are working, and, it's just a mess. There's stuff everywhere. Nothing's cleaned up. At the end of our day, we always clean our job sites up. I was actually on a job site today cleaning trash up, not something I want to be touching during COVID, but I always clean everything up and, wash and sterilize my hands really good before I leave the job site. But these are little things, even as an owner of a business, as the owner, the CEO of this company, If I go onto a job site and I see a trash bag overfilled, I'm knotting that bag up, taking it to the truck, putting it in the truck and opening another bag. So that way the guy's got an empty, clean bag they can throw trash in. So it just looks a little bit more professional on the job site. So always remember, job site cleanliness is number one in this business. And it can go on to show your pride in your work too, because you can be the best installer in the business. But if you have a job that is a messy job site, people are they're gonna look at you and say, well, this guy's good at what he does, but he doesn't like to clean up, and that's the last thing we want. We're gonna take a short break. I'm Don Riley. We'll be right back. And I'd like to talk a little bit about our friends and our grand sponsor, CFI. When it comes to flooring, these guys are the best. They do ceramic, wood, tile, any kind of flooring, carpet, you name it, they do it. These guys are the best. If you're needing flooring out there, call CFI, our grand sponsor. They'll come over and they're always courteous and nice, and their employees are awesome to work with, and they take care of their homeowner. Once again, CFI for all your flooring needs. We talk about four wheels. I get excited about talking about these guys, Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky. They got one of the best selection of vehicles on the market, from Equinox to Blazers to Chevy trucks to, well, wait a minute, Chevy trucks? I just bought a Chevy truck, the new Trail Boss 2020 from Marshall Chevrolet. These guys are the best. Also, if you just want a plain Silverado, they got them. Full selection, great staff. They will pick the vehicle that you want and give you the best deal they can. And these guys are always friendly and courteous. Stop out to Marshall Chevrolet, Carrollton, Kentucky, and tell them Don Riley from Elegant Homes Podcast sent you and your family.
It's the Elegant Homes Podcast with Don Riley, powered by CFI for all your flooring needs. CFI-installation.com and by Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky.
Welcome back, and I'm your host, Don Riley. And before the break, we were talking a little bit about job sites, making sure that when you're on a job site, you're always pre-planning and pre-playing your role in that particular project. Something else that we love to talk about and we don't really is the expectation of the customer and setting the stage for that customer. And sometimes that's very difficult because, let's face it, sometimes people, they have busy lives and their expectation isn't always your expectation. And that, I think, is so important that we talk about pre-planning. The pre-planning process with blueprints and making sure that you have drawings for the particular project, because the last thing you want to do is to get into a job, a bathroom, a kitchen, a basement, and the customer say, why are you doing that? That's not what I wanted. And then you got to tear it all back out and redo it. That's not a fun place to be. And we've been there before. So I always make sure that we have a plan. You got to have a plan. You got to execute your plan when you go into that particular project. So many people today, it amazes me when I go on these appointments. You walk into the home and they have, guess what? No plan. So they know that they want a new bathroom, a new kitchen, but they want me to design that bathroom or kitchen. And that is so, so hard. And that's when I have to get an architect or a designer involved or a person to create that space and make it unique for them, because that's not what we do. We are construction guys. We are builders. So we go in and actually make and build that space, but we have to have a plan. And if you have no plan, then we have to be creative. And sometimes our creativity is not your expectation. And that leads to problems on the job site, and we don't want problems on the job. So listen to me very closely. Your teacher, Don Riley, listen to me. You need to have a plan when we come into your project. Have me a blueprint. Have me a plan worked out of how you want to lay that job out. I love when I go into some of these homes, and I just did a room addition for a gentleman, and he had everything drawn out that he wanted, and he showed me to scale how big he wanted his vanity, how big he wanted the bathroom, how big he wanted his workout room. He knew that workout room was going to be 12 by 12 with 8-foot ceilings. He already knew that. It made my job so easy because I could go off his plan or his blueprint and make his dream reality. And that is the key, is we want to make your dreams reality, and we want to make sure that Elegant Home Exterior stands up to your expectation when we're on the job. And a lot of contractors never stand up to the customer's expectation. And it's very disappointing when you put all your hard work and your sweat equity and your love and your passion that you're something we're passionate about this business. And all of a sudden the customer walks in and you just see this look of like, oh, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I like. And it just takes the wind out of your sails. It really does, because you're so passionate about that, and then it's just gone within 20 seconds. And I always say the best thing to do to avoid all that is make sure you ask a lot of questions, communicate with the customer, which is key. Once again, I will say it one more time. Communication with the customer is key. If you lose that communication, you lose track of the job, and that will cost you time and money. And those two things can hurt your business. And we at Elegant Homes don't want to hurt the business. We want to be more successful. So I always want to say, make sure you have a plan before you go in and you execute that particular job. And I'm your host, Don Riley. Until next week, join us again for another episode of Elegant Homes. And hopefully we can help you on your next home improvement project. I'm your host, Don Riley. Until next week, where we make every home elegant, one home at a time.